been another spectacular weekend in the Premier League in terms of results, unexpected results, and indeed a bit of turbulence at the top and at the bottom of the league. I'm joined now by John Giles and Liam Brady to discuss the games and the consequences. John, I'll start with you. And Manchester City would expect to take care of Notts Forest, especially as they had a 1-goal lead. It didn't work out that way. They missed a lot of chances, and Haaland, who's been magnificent in terms of goal scoring since he's been there, he missed a couple as well. But it's 2 points dropped at just the wrong time, isn't it?
Well, there's never a good time for it, but certainly on the run-in, or we're looking at the run-in, you don't need it anyway. Yeah. But they missed their chances, If you don't take your chances, you're not going to score. And Chris Wood scored to get the equaliser. And I think it was the only shot they had on target in the match. It was one of those games. But if you don't take your chances, and they had some great chances, then you pay the price. Yeah,
and Liam, he keeps making changes to his team and his formation. Pep, he had Bernardo Silva playing left back at Arsenal actually last week. He's not really a left back; it's madness really. But also, he's left De Bruyne out. He played on Saturday, but he's left him out. And Haaland missed some good chances against Forest. There's something unsteady about City. Would you agree? Because I think you saw them live last week against Arsenal.
I did, Eamon. Yeah, I saw them on Wednesday, and they ended up deserved winners against Arsenal. I thought their experience showed at the end of the game in the second half.
Yeah.
But the first half, they were a little bit all over the place. As you mentioned, Bernardo Silva was playing left back, and he was up against Saka. And honestly, he should have been booked early on in the game. Some of the fouls, he can't tackle. He's a midfield player.
Yeah, and a very good
attacking midfield player. Yeah, he got a brilliant goal on Saturday, didn't he? Great goal. He's inventive, he's creative, but he's not a left back. You know? And Saka, time and time again, he made cynical fouls on Saka. And it wasn't until Guardiola changed to a kind of a logical back four,
Yes.
That City began to get a grip on the game. It was crazy stuff, really. I wouldn't blame them at all for Saturday. Only they didn't take their chances. They played really, really well. They created loads and loads of chances.
Yeah.
And they should have won hands down. And Forest were very fortunate, as John has described, just one shot on the goal, and it's an equaliser. But City be kicking themselves, because with Arsenal winning, going back to win this Saturday, it opens it up again.
Yes,
giving Arsenal a bit more of a chance now, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. And John, the Arsenal Villa game was a strange kind of game at Villa Park. Villa got an early goal, good goal, very good goal actually. In the end, Arsenal won 4-2. What did you make, first of all, of Arsenal's performance? And secondly, the difference between the Villa side we saw play Manchester City last week, when they didn't try now the manager, the coach, he made 6 changes, and the changes seemed to work because they put a lot more effort in. What did you make of Arsenal's performance?
Very good.
Right. Because you said to me early in the game, we were talking during the game, and they went ahead, and you said 1-0 Villa, and they looked like they were really up for it. And you said, I think Arsenal are going to beat them. And I thought, has he lost the plot? But you were right. What did you see that impressed you, John?
Well, they didn't panic, Eamon. When you get into a situation like Arsenal are in after the defeat by City, then they go behind against Villa. If you're not of the right character and the right way of doing it, especially from the manager, you're going to panic a bit. You're going to start chasing this and chasing that, or giving the ball away, start fighting among yourselves and all that. They didn't.
Yep.
After the defeat and then a goal down, that can happen, and that's the pressure that the players are under.
Yeah, and they defeated Everton before that, John.
Yeah, so they haven't been having a good time, but there was no panic, man. That's coming from the manager. No matter what happens, you keep going, you keep doing the right things, you keep doing the right things. Easier said than done. But in Arsenal's case, they kept going, they went behind, but in the end, they finished up winning 4-2, as we saw.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen by accident. It happens because the manager's done the right things. Now, I don't agree with everything he does on the touchline. Last week he had a row with
De Bruyne,
because he was messing around with the ball, which is childish. But in the main thing that he did, he kept their heads, kept playing. And in the end, we're worthy winners, Eamon, in a very, very important match from them, coming off the few games they've had recently where it hasn't gone well. So that was a good sign for Arsenal to keep on top, keep their heads when they're under pressure. And it was a really good performance and a good win.
Yeah, Liam, this, when you look at City dropping 2 points and Arsenal being the principal beneficiaries, what do you make of Arsenal now? I mean, I would, just to put some context on that, in the game against City, I was looking at Arsenal, I was hoping they'd win. I want them to beat City. But they just seemed a bit inexperienced and not battle-hardened in a certain way. But
I would agree with you totally there, Eamon, and we flagged this up, haven't we, over recent weeks. Are they going to be able to handle the pressure that comes on when you have to fend off the challengers. They've been hunted down. They've been hunted down by City. They've been hunted down in many respects by Manchester United. And do they have the experience to hold them off? And I thought there were signs against City that they just didn't have it. Tommy Yatsu made a bad mistake. He should have kicked the ball out of play for the first goal.
Yeah.
Gabriel, as we know, John's highlighted it, and I've highlighted there's always a mistake in him. He made a mistake for the second goal. Well, I have to agree with John. They bounced back really well at Villa. You have to say it was one of the best Premiership games this season. Villa played really well too. But Arsenal kept their nerve. They kept their patience. They passed the ball well. I thought Jorginho did very well in midfield. Odegaard came on a really good game. Saka was always a threat. And they deserved to win because they kept on playing, and they gave Villa problems in the last half hour of the match. So it really was a good feeling for Arsenal to bounce back the way they did, because it was one of those games going behind twice.
Yes,
that they really tested their nerve, but they came up to it. And let's not really, playing City is only 1 or 2 games a season, and they've got to play them in a couple of weeks. But they have a really good run of games coming up now, Eamon, and if they play like they did on Saturday, they could get a lot of points on the board.
Yeah, and 2 points ahead at the moment with a game in hand. And we'll come to Manchester United, incidentally, who are 3 points behind City, but they're not out of the conversation entirely. John, let me ask you about Jorginho, because he's been put in there because Thomas Partey, who I think is a really good player from Atletico, he's injured. He's put a bit of steel in Arsenal's midfield and experience. Now, we've been critical of Jorginho over the years, John, when he's played for Chelsea. And one of our listeners, actually, a man, James Toohey, wondered if we'd revised our opinion of Jorginho, not just his performances for Arsenal, but also in the Euro Championship with Italy. And I would admit that I think at Chelsea, I did think he was passing it square. He wasn't doing his stuff, but he's doing it now.
Well, he scored a good goal, Eamon. A very, very important goal for the Williams. So you don't change your mind. I'm not changing my mind about him at that. I think he's a very talented player. He's good control. I don't see him as a great midfield player who's passing the ball forward and making chances, and indeed scoring goals. I mean, he doesn't score many goals. So I'm not going to. I think he's playing in a good, probably a better team now than Chelsea. Where Chelsea are in bits at the moment, as we know, not going anywhere. And he's a talented player who can do that. But he's. I wouldn't change my view on him.
No.
No, I think he's a good player, Eamon. He's control. He's not going to give the ball away. He doesn't give many the ball away. And it probably suits him more, maybe suits him more playing for Arsenal than it did for Chelsea.
Yeah.
But he's a talented individual. There's no doubt about that. But I wouldn't change my opinion of him.
No, I didn't expect you would. I would change my opinion if I was felt. But I don't think you're wrong at all. I just was interested. Well, more importantly, James was interested. Liam, your opinion of him going to Arsenal? I thought they got him as a cheap buy at 13 million, was it? And he is a player with real experience and big time experience, big game experience.
Yes, he is. I think he was bought as cover for the two midfield players.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe to stand in, and it could be in a European tie to give players a break. But if you wanted to pick your best team, it'd be Partey and Xhaka and Odegaard in the middle of the park. Right. But I thought he had a good game against Villa on Saturday. That's my point, Yes. He passed the ball a bit more positively. He wasn't so much sideways. Against City, he didn't really feature, But against Villa, I thought he was one of the reasons that Arsenal got on top in the last half hour, because as John said, Arsenal were patient with their passing. They believed in their passing, and he passed it a bit more forward. And he didn't get a goal, but his shot led to the goal, didn't it? And I was pleased for him because you need a good game to really settle into a team. And I don't think Partey's going to be fit for the next couple of weeks, so we're going to need him, Eamon.
Right. John, let me ask you about Manchester United. They're in the conversation now. They must be the third in the league. The teams in front of them, Arsenal and City respectively, are sort of stuttering a little bit. Eric Ten Hag has got them into this position. Marcus Rashford is on fire. He's got, I think, scored now in 10 successive games. And he's a lad who's always had talent, but never quite found a position. It looks like Ten Hag has done a really good job there and made a couple of decisions. The Ronaldo decision, in particular, out the door. And he's not been afraid to make those decisions. And they're, I would say it'd be a poor championship if they won it. Not because I'm against them, but they just don't look like potential champions. But the league table says something a little different.
Well, that's the most important thing, Eamon. If you're getting the points on the board, which you do, and Rashford is on fire.
Yes.
And I think, again, it's no coincidence with Rashford and a few of the other players since Ronaldo was gone.
Yes.
I know when I'm on your show, I keep saying that, but it's so important, Eamon. I think he messed around too long with Ronaldo. From the start of the season, Eamon, Ronaldo wanted to transfer, and he should have let him said, right, out you go. Did a couple of other things to get away. But since he's gone, I think the younger players like Rashford and that be glad to get rid of him, Eamon, and they are playing well now.
Yes.
I watched them against Leicester the other day. Leicester were very good attacking, Eamon. Dreadful defending.
Yes.
Dreadful defending. Yeah. But I think the manager would want to get a grip of the new boy, Marcel Sabitzer. Is it, Eamon?
Yeah.
His tackle on the centre half was how he wasn't sent off. I do not know.
Right.
Eamon.
Yeah.
I see Mark Halsey was in the ex-referee in the Sun.
Yeah.
Said he was lucky to escape a red card.
Yes.
Then his last words were, he said, but it wasn't a clear and obvious foul.
Yeah.
But that's the next referee sticking up for the referees. But they won well. Leicester were good attacking. When they were attacking, they were good. They didn't score, but they were good at attacking. Defending, Eamon, it's the worst defensive display I've seen this year.
Right, and that's saying something. Yeah,
terrible. And Man U quite rightly took advantage of it and won in a counter at the end, with Rashford absolutely brilliant again.
Yeah, Liam, your opinion on United? I mean, they are in third place. Tottenham and Newcastle are fourth and fifth, and I was very, very disappointed in Newcastle. I've seen them twice now at Bournemouth and against Liverpool the weekend. And Tottenham, you just don't know. They don't look much of a side, Liam. But United, this fella's made a good fist of it so far.
Yeah, and I still think it's work in progress. I mean, he has to get the defence right, because the defence was all over the place in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And De Gea made two really, one in particular, one great save. When you looked, the ball looked like it was even across the line, but he pulled it out. He made a magnificent save. I don't like the phrase, he kept them in it, but Man United could have been 2 down. We don't know what's going to happen in the match. Everybody was saying, De Gea kept them in it. Well, that's not true when there's 70 minutes of a game to play. But United were struggling in defence. I thought Shaw was poor. Martinez was pushing out. There wasn't no communication in the back four.
Yes.
And it was much the same at Ellen Road the week before, Eamon. They're giving up so many chances. I think United have got away with it in the last couple of weeks, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But John described Leicester perfectly. They were all over the place. Rashford could run in behind them. Everybody could run in behind them. They were very, very poor in defence. And Arsenal have got them next Saturday. And I just hope the defence plays like that again.
Right. Let me ask you about Marcus Rashford, Liam. I admire some of the things he's done away from football, although that could be a distraction from your football. But for several years now, he's looked like a player who could blossom. He's got pace, he's got a trick, and he scores goals. And now, I think he scored in the last 10 games he's played, and he looks so confident and dangerous. What's your take on him, Liam?
Well, I saw him about 5 or 6 years ago live at Old Trafford when he was just a kid against Arsenal.
Yes.
And he scored a brilliant goal, and I thought, wow, this lad is going to be a great player. And he did it for a couple of seasons, and he looked good. And then, the change in management at Manchester United, I don't think has helped him. Chopping and changing. And I think managers lost a bit of confidence in him.
Yes.
But I think Ten Hag has made him the main man.
Yes.
And up front, I mean. And the other players have got to look for him. And I don't know, he's blossomed this year. Obviously, when you're a goal scorer and you start scoring regularly, as he's done, your confidence is sky high. And that's what it looks like at the moment. You get him in front of goal and you fancy him to score. Go back a season, you get him in front of goal, and invariably he was missing the target or missing the chances. But I just think he's hugely confident at the moment, and it might be down to the manager, because it looks like the manager has told the other players, let's play to his strengths, Whereas previous managers, he was being substituted. He was sometimes he wasn't even playing. So
yes.
I think that's the reason.
Right now, John, Chelsea have spent 600 million since Bowley, the American, bought the club. He's a billionaire. In 2 windows, they spent 300 million in the January window and 300 million in the summer window. And they lost 1-0 at home Southampton on Saturday. And they're in the bottom half of the table. They're having a nightmare. And I feel really sorry for Potter, who's come from Brighton, who did a magnificent job there. He's the coach. But he's got so many players brought in, and I would say foisted upon him. It really is making a mockery of the game, isn't it?
Well, it's making a mockery of Chelsea, I mean, that's for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not always a good thing to be buying loads and loads of players in. Actually, it can be a bad thing. How do you get the team spirit? And the main point is he bringing in the players?
Yeah, and I doubt it.
I would definitely say no. He isn't. Yes. I don't think he's got any charge of that whatsoever. We got the American guy in, he's buying this guy out. You have to have a selection of players that you want as manager to get the balance that you want. I don't know how many strikers they have. They've got loads of strikers. But how do you get the team spirit going, Eamon?
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got all those players in the club, you can only play 11 of them or 12 of them every week. So how are the other lads going to be feeling? How do you get the team spirit in that's needed to do it with the players that you want? I wouldn't be surprised if you get sacked, because that's what these guys do. You're not getting it. We spent all that money. You're not winning. You better get out and get somebody else in. It's happened before, It's ridiculous. the way that club is being run is dreadful.
It's crazy, and we've all played, and you guys in particular playing for big clubs. Liam, apparently there are 28 players who can consider themselves to be first team players, either amount of money that was spent on them or whatever. Even the basic thing, logistics of who's in the dressing room. How can a coach manage that number of players, all of whom have, many of them, either they're internationals, they've been bought for fortunes. It looks like a madhouse, doesn't it?
Well, it is, and you have to be, I don't know, a very experienced manager to be able to handle all that, you know. And Graham Potter has come from nowhere, really, in the last few years in managerial terms.
Yes.
So it must be a really difficult job for him. He must be lying awake the night before the match saying, well, who am I going to pick tomorrow, you know? None of them are really performing. They got beat again at the weekend by Southampton. I don't think they won in 8 or 9 games. They went down in the Champions League, and probably that's the competition that might save his job. You know, if they can turn over Dortmund at Stamford Bridge, I think they're 1-0 down. I mean, if they could turn that round and win the tie, it'd probably give him a bit of breathing space. But it's in a mess at the moment, and John's absolutely right. Is that this ball is buying the players? It's not the manager at all.
No, and it's a sign of things to come, John. When you think about Manchester United now, it looks like the Qataris or the Saudis may take over Manchester United. I don't like to talk about football politics when we're talking on a Monday, because the game is so much more interesting, but it's inevitable, isn't it? With Manchester United up for sale for $6 billion, which is, small change for these boys, some of them. Yeah. I hope the English guy who's in for it gets it, but they don't know anything about football. They know nothing about the communities that the club and the history and traditions of a club. It's a very, very unwelcome development in the Premier League, isn't it?
It's dangerous, Eamon.
Yeah.
If it happens the way it's happening at the moment, all the top clubs, and a lot of them already are owned by foreign people. And if and when they do get in, Eamon.
Yes.
You know the thing they tried to do last year, we're getting the top 6 away to go into Europe?
Yes.
That's what will happen.
Yeah.
They'll break away. The Premiership won't be what it is at the moment. They 6 will break away to form a new league, and they won't care about the England or whatever they are. And they'll be doing what they're doing. In other words, they'll be taking over the television name and where the money is.
Yes.
If they do what they want to do, say the top 6, they break away and they go with Juventus and all to go. They're going to go away completely and form their own league, own television, because what's happening at the moment, the Manchester United players and all that, they're playing in UEFA and all the things.
Yeah.
They're their players, Eamon.
Yes.
Right? And they say, well, forget about UEFA and that. We'll be UEFA. We'll do it ourselves.
Yes. Yep.
And that's what I think will happen in the long run. And the Premiership, as we know it, won't exist.
And it might be the short run, because there's a case coming up in April in the European Court of Justice about this proposed Super League. It's an appeal. They lost, the Super League guys lost the first case, but they're appealing to the European Court of Justice, so it might be closer than we think. Liam, your old colleague and boss, Arsene Wenger, coined the phrase a long time ago now of financial doping, and he actually likened the kind of excessive and inflated prices that people like these guys, Bowley and others, introduce into the league as the equivalent of cheating in athletics and other sports where drugs are used. And he was right, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so, Eamon. Well, Manchester City are facing how many charges?
101.
101.
And they go back some years.
They'll just kick the can down the road with solicitors and lawyers and so forth. The trouble we've seen with the World Cup in Qatar, Eamon.
Yeah.
Even just the getting of the World Cup in Qatar.
Yes.
If you go back a good few years when Blatter was in charge of FIFA.
2010. They gave the World Cup to Russia for 2018 and then to Qatar for 2022. It subsequently proved that there was corruption involving Platini, who was the head of UEFA at the time, and indeed Blatter, both of whom were kicked out of football. But it was corrupt.
Yeah, well, FIFA, since I've been following football, I've always been corrupt. I think Havelange was the one that started the whole thing off, Eamon, but that's another discussion. My point is that the Arab countries have no respect for rules or regulations. They think money talks, and they just seem to be able to do what they want. They got the World Cup in Qatar. There was no stadiums. And we all know what happened with the building of those stadiums, Eamon. How many people lost their lives.
Slave labor,
they had no respect for the workers either. So, these people have no respect for regulations. They just want to win,
Yes.
They want to showcase themselves and their countries by winning. And they think the regulations don't matter. And that's where we are with football at the moment. And the Premier League, and I agree with John, the Premier League are facing a real battle to keep hold of what they've got, the product of what they got. Because let's not forget about it, that Real Madrid and Barcelona, they're all jealous of the Premier League. Bayern Munich are all jealous of the Premier League. So that leaves UEFA vulnerable in the scheme of things.
Yep. Okay, now, John, I want to ask you about something that's very delicate and personal to you. Leeds United. They're struggling, John. They're in the bottom three. In fact, they're a point ahead of Southampton, a point behind West Ham, and 2 points behind AFC Bournemouth. Are you worried? Your own club?
Yeah, I've been worried for a while. I'm in about them.
Yeah, you said it time after time, Yeah,
well, where they're lucky in certain ways is that so many teams around them.
Yes.
You got West Ham.
Everton,
Everton.
West Ham are in the bottom three, actually.
Yeah, you got the Saints. You got, there's quite a few that is unusual, to have so many in it. Yeah. So that's the only maybe good thing about the Leeds United situation.
Yeah.
But definitely. Well, like a few of the others down there, they're in trouble. That's for sure.
Right. Just a final question for you, Liam, and for John, of course. Newcastle-Liverpool. I watched the match. Newcastle seemed to have lost their bloom, shall we say, and Liverpool, I thought, deserved to win. Núñez scored a very good goal and made a goal for Mo Salah. The Liverpool have Real Madrid tomorrow night, and Newcastle are beginning to... Do you think they'll get the checkbook, the Saudis? They'll get it out, maybe not now.
They can't get it out now.
In the summer.
They can't get it out now, but it'll be a great help to them if they make the Champions League. I thought Newcastle did all right, even with 10 men. I was watching the game. Liverpool started very well. A great ball from Trent Alexander, and Núñez pulled it down and scored a smashing goal. Then they got another good goal. But I thought Newcastle, they had their goalkeeper sent off, but they gave Liverpool a lot of problems. And I don't know whether that game, if they had been 11 against 11, would have finished that way. So I think it was just a blip for Newcastle. So I think they could bounce back and be a top four side. Tottenham now are in the top four, and Newcastle are outside of it. Yes. But I think Newcastle are a better team than Tottenham.
Right. John, let me ask you a final question about Tottenham, West Ham. I think all of us would admire David Moyes, apart from Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger, actually. He's managed more Premier League games than anyone else. He's been a very, very good pro. He's done really good work at Everton, of course, for a long time. Didn't have much of a chance at United when he was the designated successor by Sir Alex Ferguson. Didn't have a chance, and did really well with West Ham last season as well when he got them into Europe. It'd be a great shame if they got beat 2-0 at Tottenham yesterday. I know you watched the game, and I watched some of it. They battled for him, but they're in danger now. They're actually alongside Leeds in the bottom three.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, you know, you get an experienced man like David Moyes, for example. It happens in football, and sometimes you get a few people in the dressing room.
Yep.
Not really behind him. You know, it can happen. And like last year, he had a really good season, and actually spent money. They spent a fair bit of money in the summer, and now they're doing what they're doing. You know, it just happen. It can happen in the dressing room where a few players, experienced players, go against the manager for some reason or other. You never know what it is sometimes, and he's in big trouble. And it looks like that to me at the moment. I mean, I don't think they're giving their best for him. Let's put it that way. And I think it's very sad for somebody in it, but it wouldn't be the first time it's happened, Eamon.
Okay, and a final thought from you, Liam. You said earlier Arsenal don't have such a tough few games ahead of them. Are you still on the optimistic side?
Yes, after Saturday, yes, that was a big win, you know, and in fact, City dropped 2 points.
Yes.
Arsenal have been on a bad run, as we know at the moment, but Man City losing at Spurs a couple of weeks ago and then dropping 2 points against Nottingham Forest the other day has given them, you know, I wouldn't say a glimmer of hope, a lot of hope, I say, because if they play as well as they did against Villa, they can beat the teams that are coming up in the next few weeks and probably go into that City match in a lot better shape than I was frightened of, you know. They play City, I think, in about 2.5 weeks' time.
In April, I think.
So. Oh, it's not till April, is it not?
I don't think I think it's in April, Liam.
Okay, sorry. So,
I could be wrong.
If they can get a run of games, which they possibly could with the teams they're playing. I know you never know in the Premiership, but they've got Bournemouth at home, they've got Everton at home, they've got Crystal Palace at home. You know,
right?
These, if they play well enough, they should win those games. I know you can't say that, particularly with the Premiership, because it's a brilliant league. You just don't know what's going to happen from week to week. You know, look at Southampton beating Chelsea on Saturday, and Forest getting a point against City. Yeah. It's the best league in the world. So bring it on. Okay,
Liam. Thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations, Liam, on your documentary, which everyone in Ireland is talking about, and lots of people in England would be if they could get it. It was superb and very interesting indeed.